One day I started to realize, I had this awakening. I thought, when I drink the filtered water at my house, I feel more thirsty. But when I drink the spring water, I feel satiated for longer. So I started playing with different waters, and I went to an herbalist and started getting different teas, nutritive teas that had herbs like nettle and horsetail, and just brewing tea all day and like drinking it. And my body started coming back to life. And I realized, oh my gosh, like there's something to water that I have not been told, because not all water is the same. You look at this clear liquid and you just think water's water, right? I mean, come on. As long as it's clean, you're good. And that's just a facet of the truth, because the truth is there's so much more to water to uncover.
Welcome back to the Medicin Podcast. My name is Mimi, and next to me here, I have my beautiful blue-eyed partner in life and love and podcasting with me here.
What is going on, everybody? We are so stoked today. We have not only just a good friend in the house, ready to jam on all things hydration, but somebody who is just helping thousands of people, has been doing it for a long time, is an OG in the space of holistic health and wellness. And we just get the blessing and the opportunity to peek inside the mind of this genius today. So Tracy Duhs, welcome to the Medicin Podcast.
Oh man, I feel so blessed to be here today. It's like when I'm in your presence, both of you guys, everything feels calm and relaxed and grounded and fun at the same time.
Good. Then we have achieved our goal. That's what we want every friend to feel like. And every listener too, every one of our listeners, we want you to feel like you're in the room with us, just listening to friends talk and go deep together and have conversations that are rich and deep and nourishing. Mm-hmm. And you know, when I think of the word nourished, like your face is not far behind because you are such a queen in the space. You are you've been a great friend to me. Actually, you were my first friend in San Diego, and we go way back to the days of Brain Hits. Tracy found me through Brain Hits. I've talked about them on the podcast before. I was selling them this food that I created to a local juice shop in Seattle, and saw my little card there, saw Brain Hits. I think you had one.
Oh yeah, many. Yeah. Not one.
And then I get a DM in my, on Instagram, like, hey, we need to chat. We need to talk. And I was like, who is this lady, this beautiful lady that just came into my DMs? Is she real? And then we jumped on the phone, and I think our first conversation was like 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, you live in San Diego. I'm going to be moving there in a few months, getting back together with my ex-husband. And then it all kind of stemmed from that. And now we've attended many of your elixir hydration wellness parties. Y'all, no one throws a better wellness party or party in general than Tracy Duhs.
Oh, thank you.
So fun, so amazing. And we've just been blessed by your friendship and learning from you and your podcast and everything. So deep bow of gratitude to you.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual.
All right. We are already in the love bubble. The first question that we ask every guest, let's get into it. The first question is, what aspect of your life, what do you love in your life so much that you wish you could gift it to every human?
I feel like my ability to be playful and kind of flow in any situation. I wish I could gift that to other people, because I see people getting so stressed out about a lot of things. Like when I was supposed to come over here, my keys got lost somehow, and I got to Uber over here, and I think a lot of people would be like very stressful, like things are not coming together. My daughter was sick. There was so many things that happened today. But I have an ability to make it still fun and playful, and like, okay, it's gonna work out. It's all gonna be great, right? And I wish we could all do that, because life would be so much juicier. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I'm perfect at this all the time, but I feel that I've been gifted with that through my parents, like kind of the way that they modeled life with me. They didn't get too stressed out about stuff. And I think our nervous systems really get imprinted with a lot of our parents' modeling. Mm-hmm. sometimes I'll see parents who they're just really anxious, and then you see their children anxious, and it definitely impacts them. So I wish we could all have that gift of just a more a nervous system that doesn't feel so activated all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's enough stress in the world around us, from EMF, toxins, all the things that are coming at us. It sort of feels like an affront on our health sometimes. And I love that thought. Like, we don't need to be adding more stress to our life, like taking things so seriously, or thinking that the world is going to end if you have to take an Uber instead of driving. Like, I think that in our modern society and culture, it's easy to become addicted to the rush that stressful events are laced with, because there is a rush of adrenaline.
Yeah.
And that, I think, can become addictive for people.
Absolutely. You ever around someone where it's like they talk about their problems all the time, very negative, and I don't think they want to be negative, but there is a rush for them somehow.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter, anything polarizing, like exciting or really dramatic, does give us those neurochemicals that are very activating and can excite our brain. And so, yeah, it's definitely addicting.
Yeah. And I feel like when a lot of times, if you're in repetitive patterns of negativity or pessimism, you can kind of delve into the self-development space and feel this guilt for like, oh my God, how much negativity and stress I'm bringing into my environment. And then you try to like pull that back, when in fact, all you really need to do is just introduce things like play and introduce creativity and curiosity.
Yeah.
Something that is so like alongside this embodiment of play is just curiosity without an attachment to a specific outcome. And I think that like, I'm so grateful for people like you in my life where I can see playfulness and just genuine curiosity, because it reminds me to like remove my attachment or focus on very specific outcomes that I'm interested in and come back into the state of curiosity and presence and play. Because if all you're thinking about is that very defined outcome, you're going to miss out on the energetic opportunity to have play and novelty and spontaneity within the moment.
I love that you said that, and I'm so in alignment with that. And I haven't always, I think, been that way. I remember being really A-type, and like, you get attached to an outcome and how it's supposed to go. And I think I hit a point in my life where I realized I'm like, I get to either be so focused on how my outcome is going to be and attached to it, and I'm going to miss the experience, or I can learn to loosen the grip a little bit and have a vision, but trust the process and get excited. Like, okay, it may not happen exactly the way I want, but I know something good is happening. Yeah. All I need to do is take steps of faith, one in front of the other, and I keep the vision, but I don't keep going like, am I going in the right direction? Is this working? Is it not working? It's like really appreciating the synchronicities of everything is happening for me. The fact that I couldn't find my keys, well, there was a reason. Maybe I was supposed to meet this Uber driver. I started thinking that way, like, who am I going to meet today? I'm meeting someone new that I wouldn't have met. I'm in a different situation, or now I can get some things done on my phone and make a phone call when I might not have been able to have that presence if I was driving. So just things like that, where you can start to get curious, like, ooh, what's going to happen today? I don't even know, and then it makes life a lot more fun.
Yeah, you're allowing for more surprises, good and sometimes not so good. That is the spectrum and the polarity of life, and it's so much more adventurous when you can look at life like exactly that it is an adventure, and this is a game within the game, and we all get to play it, and it can be light and fun and playful and curious if we but make it so.
Yeah. I love that about you too. I feel that when I'm in your presence, it's like, it just feels like we can do that together and enjoy it, and we're in flow. Some people don't even know how to do that.
Right.
So they watch you, but they're like, whoa, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's a practice, right? Like it's not a flip of a switch. It's not always innate. It's a practice. And I think it starts with us, like each on an individual level, allowing more. And instead of choosing to be reactive in a moment, like take a breath, center, deep in your belly, and just like breathe for a second, and then kind of ask yourself like, all right, what is this opportunity, or what is the lesson here? Or, being able to really kind of sit and allow what's coming and not want to immediately change reality that you're having.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a practice.
Yeah, especially tough in the world of always having an alternative option available to you. Well, I definitely want to jump into your journey and your story and some of the things that we can share about your new book. But maybe for everybody, just a synopsis of what lights you up today, and what are you doing in the world today?
Oh, what am I doing in the world? Well, when I was on my way over here, I was in a conversation with some friends in Nicaragua. We're working on a clean water project over there. And if anybody listening wants to join, it's going to be in August 7th through 14th, taking a team over there. And there's an area there where there's no water. The people have to actually go out and source their water. A water truck will come by once a week, and it's really actually very contaminated water, and so they have to put chlorine in it and clean it. But I mean, they don't have anywhere to take a shower, wash their clothes. When you think about water, all the things we need it for, it's crazy. So this little village, the children there, they dig through the trash for their food. And so the team where we're going over to we're going to be able to feed the kids for a year with the money that we're taking with the team, and just able to spend some time with them, learn more about what they need. And then I'm going to bring some engineers to figure out exactly the best way to bring water to this village. So that's something I'm super excited about.
Wow. Yeah. That is so incredible.
Huge impact.
And it's just so much fun. One thing I love about the community that I have, the Hydrate community, is they want to help. Anytime I ask, it's like, how can I help? I want to come. And I know people want to help. It's just innate in us. We want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. And that's one thing I really do appreciate about social media is we get to connect with people and share things, and people that have the same interests can come together and we can unite to do bigger things, because alone we can go so far, but together we can go further, right? So it's exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah. Every time I talk to you or, catch up with your stuff on social media, you've always got something going, a project or some way that you're trying to reach people, connect with people, or connect people who should be connected. Like, hey, you got to meet this person. They would be great. Like, you have to meet this person. Like, oh my gosh. Every time we go to one of your wellness parties, there's always someone that you're like, oh my gosh, I needed you to meet this person. And
like Michelle and Steve. Like Steve is like my absolute homie. Like such a great relationship, and met him
Shout
at your
out
place
Steve
a few
Martinez.
Years ago.
Yeah. It's so fun. And community is so important. It was something that was sorely missing in our part one of our marriage. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. The community that we are blessed to build, through the podcast and just living where we do, like, oh man, it is an absolute blessing. I want to go back a little bit in your journey. We're taking a trip in the time machine. You didn't always live this way. I know a little bit about your story. I don't know if Chase has ever heard your full story, and we don't have to get super crazy detailed, of course, but I want to give our listeners kind of a taste of what this journey has been like for you. And where did your love affair with hydration begin?
Well, I mean, according to my best friend, she was just telling me the other day, she's like, do you remember when we were 14 and you went to the faucet? Yes, I drank tap water, but you went to the faucet and you drank this big glass of water, and she's like, you put it down and you're just like, I love water. I was so excited about it. I'm like, actually, I don't remember that, but thanks for that reflection. I think I've always loved health and wellness. I feel like when I was a child, I grew up in Salinas, California, where they would crop dust. I mean, I remember the smell getting back into town, that I could smell the pesticides or the Agent Orange, and that felt very like that's what I knew. And from a young age, I think being exposed to that, I think my liver was really toxic, and I would get nauseous and tired. And, not everybody felt that way that lived there, but everyone has different methylation pathways, right? And everybody's body processes things. And so my body wasn't able to methylate things as well. And I think I suffered from that. And so as a teenager, I had acne, I had exhaustion, I had, all the things that you would think when your liver's toxic. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really know why, but I wanted to feel better. And so I would think about ways that I could, like my mom would be making cookies and I'm like, hey mom, can we substitute out honey for sugar or not put butter in these? Because I didn't know what was healthy, but I was trying to experiment and get curious. Like I love butter. I think it's great for you. But back then there was this thing of like fat was bad for you. And so I was just trying to experiment and see. Yeah. And I remember, I made these cookies without fat and they were honey instead of sugar. And they were hard as a rock and we couldn't even bite them. But it was like stuff like that where, I'm just trying to play with things and see, will this make me feel better? But I did notice that the more water I drank, the better I drink. And I could never drink alcohol, like even a sip of alcohol, a couple times and I was like green. So I'm like, okay, I can't have that. My body didn't resonate with anything like that. Like wearing perfume, chemicals, my body was always super sensitive. So I had the gift of needing to get curious about it. Otherwise, what was the alternative? I needed alternatives. So I've always been super curious about it. And my parents are missionaries. So when I was really young, I started college when I was 15 and a half. And when that year that I started college, my dad sent me on a mission trip to shadow under a doctor in an indigenous village in Guatemala. And I got to spend time there with the surgeon, and there was no water in that village either. And the people had to walk, I think it was like, I don't remember how many miles, but it was quite a bit to just get the water for their drinking, their clothes, bathing their clothes, washing their body, bathing their clothes.
Yeah, we know what I mean.
Washing their clothes, bathing. And it just opened my eyes because when you're 15 and you open the faucet every day, we didn't have social media back then. So I didn't see a bigger world of like, whoa, everyone doesn't have access to that. So once I discovered that, I realized, oh my gosh, like I want to be a part of this and make sure that I can help people somehow that don't have water like this. And also it made me appreciate what I had so much more. And so it kind of just opened my eyes up to a bigger world. And also I was in pre-med during that time. I started pre-med my first year of college. I was like, okay, I want to do pre-med. I want to be a doctor. I want to help people. And after that trip, I realized, oh my gosh, I want to help people, but I don't resonate with cutting people open and giving vaccinations. And those all have their place. And thank God that we have, doctors, but for me, it didn't feel resonant with my path. So I kind of got discouraged and I did it for a couple more years and then I went into business and started a modeling agency, did venture capital, investment banking, just like totally different path. But then my daughter, when I was pregnant for my daughter Grace, I had an imbalance, a mineral imbalance. And I had barely any amniotic fluid. I was thirsty beyond it was crazy. It felt like when I'd wake up in the morning, like I'd been crawling through the desert for days without water. Now, mind you, I've never done that before, but I'm imagining what that would feel like. My tongue would literally be stuck to the roof of my mouth. My mouth was so dry. Like I had to peel it off the roof of my mouth. My eyeballs, I had to blindly go to the bathroom and put water on my eyelids so they'd open up. And I'm 24.
Wow.
I'm doing kale juices every day, eating healthy, beans and rice and chicken and salad and I don't know, whatever my mom raised me on. I would what I thought was healthy. I was eating that and exercising and doing all the things, but I could not get enough water. I mean, I would just be drinking and drinking water. And the more I drank, the worse I felt because, if you drink too much water, you can imbalance your minerals even more, deplete your body. And so it was just really frustrating. But one day I started to realize I had this awakening. I thought, when I drink the filtered water at my house, I feel more thirsty. But when I drink the spring water, I feel satiated for longer. So I started playing with different waters and I went to an herbalist and started getting different teas, nutritive teas that had herbs like nettle and horsetail and just brewing tea all day and drinking it, and my body started coming back to life. And I realized, oh my gosh, like there's something to water that I have not been told, because not all water is the same. You look at this clear liquid and you just think water's water, right? I mean, come on. As long as it's clean, you're good. And that's just a facet of the truth, because the truth is there's so much more to water to uncover, and we get to do that. And so once I started researching it, I realized, oh my gosh, like there's so much to this that I can upgrade my health with if I start to pay attention. But quickly I discovered as well that not a lot of people are talking about it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're talking about how important water is, and everybody knows that, but what kind of water, how much water, when do you drink the water, what kind of minerals do you add to the water or don't add to the water, and what about the physics of the water and the energetics of the water and the imprinting of the water and the messaging that we're sending the water and the water sending us. I mean, just so many things. And the frequencies that are in the water, the frequency profiles, and how that's sending messages to our cells. And once I started to get into it, I just fell in love beyond, because I realized our bodies are 99% water molecules. Now, this is at the molecular level. If you think about mass, we're born usually like 90% water, and then by the time we die, it's average about 50%. So we're slowly going, and this is, by mass, by weight, but on molecular level, we're almost 100% water molecules.
It's so crazy.
Wow.
And it's really,
It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around.
It really is, because you think, if I'm that much water, why am I not a puddle of water on the floor? Like, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. But it's because we're crystalline structures. Just like your crystal that's made out of minerals, it's this beautiful structure. And I don't want to simplify it, like, it's not just like, but it's a way to kind of identify, in the sense that our body is taking water and it's structuring it into these beautiful crystalline structures that we are. And the words that we say, the thoughts that we think, the kind of water that we drink, the environments we're in, those are all impacting how that structure is being defined and played out. Mm-hmm. Every frequency is tuning these cells and turning them into the structure that we are. And so it's like, wow, it makes you start to think, when I really pay attention to it, I can upgrade my health, can upgrade my thoughts, I can upgrade my life. My morphogenetic field, the field around me, is communicating with your field. And all of this is like frequency medicine. And if we start to pay attention to it, we have this amazing opportunity to upgrade everything in our lives. And so I got away from just focusing on food, because I became very afraid of food, because I was so sick. My liver wasn't well. I was thirsty. I was constipated. I had acne. Like, didn't matter what I ate, I felt like I got a new pimple. It was like so frustrating, because I'd been so tapped in and tuned into wanting to be healthy for so long, but it felt like nothing was working for me. And I was just so frustrated. And so then I one day I woke up and I realized, my gosh, I think that, like, when I wake up, I'm not aware that the fact that I'm in so much anxiety, fight or flight, every morning that I wake up, and my thoughts are really anxious. I just wasn't even aware of it. I had 2 young babies. I was in a marriage that was very painful for my heart. And I just was anxious. And so once I started taking inventory of my thoughts, I realized, oh my gosh, these thoughts are affecting every part of my health, and they're imprinting the water body that I am. So I just made it a point to wake up and really observe and say, okay, I'm grateful. Gratitude is our greatest weapon against any obstacle in our life. So I started to just be thankful. Thank you that I have legs to go to the restroom. Thank you that I have breath in my lungs. Thank you that my babies are safe in bed. Thank you that I have a husband that provides and is kind and loving, and, all of the things that were good. And as I did that, my water body started to shift. All of the things that I was doing, eating the good food, working out, doing the juicing, all that stuff started to work for me. The obstacle getting in the way of all that stuff working was me. It was my thoughts and how I was imprinting my water body. and my cells were getting into a locked state. Instead of being in an entropic, in a centropic state in a right spin, they can get into this left spin, this entropic downward spiral. And when your cells, one of my mentors, Dr. Stephen Adkins would say, if your cells are in left spin, what happens is you can't effectively get nutrition in or toxins out. And so they kind of get almost locked. So you have these toxic cells that aren't uptaking nutrition. So no matter how good of food you're eating or juicing or water you're drinking, if the cells aren't able to bring that in and they're not, there isn't this balance, then it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're going to be sick. So we need to have this balance between, in our fluids, our intracellular and extracellular fluid needs to be able to be working together in this symphony. And so your extracellular fluid, when it's toxic and sick, your cells are going to be sick. Yeah. So just all of these things, it was like, I had no awareness of this. It just seems like eat a good diet. Mm-hmm. Don't drink. Work out. No, that's a facet of the story. There's so much more. Mm-hmm. So I went back to school. Went to herbal school. I went to school, nutrition school. I went back and enrolled myself in a PhD program that focused on the quantum science of health as opposed to just the physical chemistry of our health. And then my eyes were opened and I was awakened to so many things that changed my life forever. And I'm a new person now. I wake up, not saying I don't have struggles or bad days or anything, but I have a different perspective on life. And it's more playful. It's connecting to nature and earth and choosing my water wisely. And all the things that I do are different. And now I have the energy of even when I was in my teens, I didn't have this energy that I have now, or this excitement or this joy. And so that got me excited. Like, okay, I changed these little things and my whole life was upgraded. I want to share this good news with everybody. Because if I didn't hear this news, I'm sure there's other people out there who don't know it. Mm-hmm. So that's why I came up with the 9 pillars of health in my book, Hydrate. Because these are the pillars, the foundations that I really believe that all of us have access to. And all of us, if we choose to do them, our lives will be upgraded, every single one of us. So,
and most of them are free.
Yeah, exactly. They are.
Yeah. I think we have a tendency sometimes to complicate. I know you see it, just open Instagram or, scroll YouTube for a while and there's really complicated and, confusing information out there that I think some people, if wellness isn't your job, like it is in part for us and certainly for you, it can seem so daunting and overwhelming to even get started. Like, where do I even fucking start?
Yeah.
And I love the 9 pillars that you talk about because, like I said, most of them are free. You said we all have access to the earth. We all have access to get our toes on the ground and get those negative ions. We all have access to sunlight. I mean, most of us, if it's light out, PSA, if it's light out, the sun is out, that you're getting sunlight, even if it's cloudy, even if it's in the winter time. But if it's light out, you can still absorb those beneficial rays and, drinking clean water. And some of these pillars are so simple that it's easy to overlook them. And I think a lot of people do, but, I love that you're making this accessible to people. I want to show your book and how beautiful it is. The book is called Hydrate. And this is a great, useful segue because you're not only talking about hydration and the importance of quality water, but you're, like I said, also talking about sunlight and grounding and nutrition and the importance of community and all these different things that add to a beautiful and create a beautiful life. If you could sum it up in some way, what are you trying to accomplish or provide for people with this Hydrate book?
I'm trying to provide a reminder that there is hope. And we're not prisoners to our body, and life can be fun. Health can be fun. It doesn't need to be a job or this daunting task. Oh, I got to go to the gym and do my hour workout, or need to get that sunlight, or I have to eat healthy. it's all perspective. So I bring science in the book to show why each of these 9 pillars are important, but also practical applications and how to bring it into your life in a fun, playful way so that it stands the test of time, and you want to integrate these 9 pillars all the time. And these 9 pillars can be stacked very easily, like sunlight, grounding, playtime, community. I mean, I can stack all 4 of those in one by taking a walk barefoot with my friend down at the cliffs.
Right.
I'm talking to someone, I'm in the sunlight, I'm grounding to the earth, we're having communication, So it's not like I have to, do one and then the next and check them off. It's like I find ways in my life now so that I can stack these pillars and get them done. Like yesterday, my daughter and my boyfriend and I went on a hike, and we went to this beautiful stream, this river, and we took our shoes off when we were hiking, and it was like we're in the sunlight and we're talking and we're laughing and we're grounding. And I was like, yeah, we're getting all these things, and it's just we're forest bathing and having fun together.
You're using your life as medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think the idea, and the book looks kind of like a coffee table book for those that can't see it. It's one that you can open up to any page, read a page, take a minute just to read something and get something out of it. And for me, I love that because sometimes it feels daunting to have to get to open up a book and go, okay, I'm going to read from page 1 to page 350, you know, and like, when am I going to have time to do this? So my personality is just, I'm spontaneous. I like to just pick something up and learn. And so with this book, I thought it's one you can pick up any page, open it up and learn something. And it doesn't have to be from front to back. It can just be, you could just look at one page and never look at it again. And hopefully you took something from it.
And you're also providing amazing recipes that are that are healthy and delicious. We've had the pleasure of having a lot of them with your different wellness parties and everything. You're making it fun. You're making health fun for people. And I love that you experiment with all different things. You're putting really like exotic things in there, but also things that anyone might have in their cupboard. You know, it's not all exotic, but I love that you share your personal recipes, because anyone can look at Tracy Duhs and be like, whatever she's having, I need some of that, you know? And so you're providing that to people, which I think is so great. And I wanted to touch on the subtitle of your book is Preserving Youth and Activating Vitality with Intelligent Hydration. I think in our society, in our modern society, we can all observe people out there who are so afraid of this aging process that they go to extreme lengths from an external perspective of getting Botox and surgery and lifts and implants, anything that they can throw their money at to hopefully not look their age, you know, or look older than they really are. And I think we have this aversion to this process of aging, but less from a cellular standpoint, more of an external beauty standpoint. And so I would love for you to touch on like the cellular aspect. What is actually happening inside of people when they look much older than they really are, when you can tell like that their cells might be aging and dying prematurely? What's actually happening?
Well, there's so much happening, I'm sure, and I'm definitely not a medical doctor, but from my studies, obviously I'm going to look at the water, right? As we age, if we go from 90% to 50%, that's a huge part of the aging process is dehydration. And it's not just how much water you're drinking, it's how much water is your body able to absorb, right? So our capillaries, our blood vessels, everything starts to degrade as we get older. Things slow down, they tighten up. And the water has less of an ability to get to these places. So I always think about like a rose or flowers. You buy flowers, right? You cut them off the stem. When they're in the ground, they're able to take up the water and the nutrition. But when you cut it and you put it in a vase, you notice that these stems start to, like, the water can't go up and penetrate as much and get to the actual petals. And so they wilt. And we can think of our bodies in that way as well. Like we're just not able to uptake this water as well. And we dehydrate and we shrivel up. Like we start to age. And so I like to look at aging as a way of optimizing hydration. And that's what I go through in the book too. You can drink water, but where is the water going? Is it the type of water you're drinking? Is it able to penetrate the cells, or is it just passing through your system, going from one hole to the next?
Yeah.
You know, is it kind of like going in and out and flushing, or is it able to get into the cells and to different parts of our body? Movement is so important for hydration because it's charging our electrical unit, our electrical body. It's charging the water body. So that water, so our cells can communicate. They know, how cellular autophagy can happen more efficiently. They know when they're supposed to die off. Apoptosis is supposed to take place. They can communicate. They tell each other things. If our cells can't communicate, then they fail to act in the way that they should. If I didn't plug in my cell phone, what's going to happen? It's not going to communicate with me. The cells aren't talking to each other. And so our cells need water's the conduit for all of that electricity and everything happening. And when we move our bodies, we're charging that. And I'm thinking of moving everything, like massaging your face. You're bringing that flow, that energy, that fluid, more water, more hydration to each of those tissues. Move your earlobes, massage your earlobes, massage your lymphatic system depends on hydration. Your lymphatic system, I think of it as like the trash can of your body, all the things that need, the waste that needs to be thrown out. If you're not moving, then your lymphatic system is going to be like this stale, sticky, toxic sludge in your body. And when you have that in your body, you're going to feel sick. You're not going to age well. Your cells are not going to age well. So movement, sunlight is activating that water body. Now, we don't want too much, right? The prescription is like with just the right amount.
Not too much, not too little.
Not too much, not too little. Exactly. But that sunlight is the forgotten nutrition. That's something that our cells are taking in as this essential nutrition that we need to be healthy. And the type of water that we drink, if we're not drinking water that is well mineralized and well structured and coherent, then our cells are not going to get hydrated effectively. So, just a simple thing with that is not drinking filtered water all the time. Just filtered water alone is really hard for our bodies to hydrate well with. And our cells have to work harder to structure the water, filter the water, to bring it into coherence. Our body's going to do that. I mean, we wouldn't be this beautiful crystalline structure we are if it wasn't doing it, but it's got to work hard to do it. Yeah. So we take off that burden if we drink great water that's already coherent and structured. So when I think of aging, I really think of it from a different aspect. It's like, yeah, sure, I can slap a Band-Aid on by getting something done to me externally, but it's really like a Band-Aid fix. It's not fixing. Beauty comes from the inside. When you look at a child and you see their just like the ruddiness in their cheeks and the color in their lips and the clear crystalness in their eyes and all of those things, that's something that's coming from within. And it's also not just the things that we're doing, eating or drinking or getting energy from the earth. It's also our thoughts. Our brain is this huge antenna that is imprinting every single cell in our body, I believe. And there's more research to be done on that. But personally, from what I see, that it seems to me that every thought we're thinking is really affecting this water body and imprinting us at a higher level than we could probably even imagine. And so if I want to be radiant and beautiful, my thoughts get to be radiant and beautiful. It starts there.
Yeah.
And that's actually really exciting, especially for people who feel like, oh, I can't afford all these beauty treatments. And man, I've seen some gorgeous people who have no money, never had a facial in their life, and it's like they're the most beautiful person you've ever seen. And it's really, I think, starts with the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions, and that really impacts our water body. So when I talk about, I think whenever I tell people I'm a scientist that studies hydration, I lose people immediately. They're like, oh God, how do I get out of this conversation? Like, this girl's about to bore me. Okay, I'm out. And then when I add on that I study aging and how to upgrade aging through intelligent hydration, like, can I be your friend now? You know?
Yeah.
What do you have to say? I want to know more. So yeah, we're vain creatures, you know? We want to look good. We want to feel good. And I really, truly, personally believe that hydration is a huge part of that.
Huge. Yeah. You know, going back to like maybe the structure stages of water and hydration consciousness, let's assume that, because even for me, prior to about 5 years ago, I was just consuming all tap water. And that was just up to 20 some years old. I'm just like all tap water. And then I'm learning, you know, I get into the wellness space and I'm learning, I'm almost overwhelmed by how much there is. And I'm grateful now, like even Huberman on his show, he's talking about structured water and some of these lanes that have been a little more esoteric from the traditional like wellness community, like gym community, bodybuilding community, athlete community is just like tap water.
Yeah.
You grow up drinking from a hose, you got the drinking fountain, and you got your pre-workout. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see some of the conversation around higher forms of hydration trickling into the mainstream. But if you were to take somebody who's drinking tap water and they're overwhelmed, like they hear about the NLMA wand and they hear about like structuring in sunlight and all these different modalities and these devices, and they're just overwhelmed. Where would you begin with like, all right, we're just consuming tap water. You know, how do you start phasing in these different steps of evolution as it pertains to the consumption of water?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chase, because it can be overwhelming, right? And there's so many aspects to water that I get overwhelmed with, and this is what I do every day. So don't feel left out or like you're, you know, it's just awareness. I think awareness is the first place to start. When you pick up a glass of water, asking more questions. Where did this water come from? What kind of journey did it take to get to me? What's in it? You know, and a big part is gratitude. I think Masaru Emoto was a big name that helped us understand that water isn't just water, and water is influenced by thoughts and words. And the science community really throws out his work because he cherry-picked his data, and so scientists don't look at it. But I'm grateful to him for how he opened our eyes up to the fact that there is more. And the structure of the water is something that we get to get curious about. So I think you guys might agree that when we look to nature, nature has a lot to teach us, right? And then we look to the way that we've contaminated the world through our modern day living, and a lot of that we want to stay away from. So when I look at water, I think, okay, what is nature doing? When it's raining or the earth's bringing water up, the water is going through many processes. Like it's going through the earth, the rock formations, it's picking up minerals, it's getting filtered through those rocks and those minerals, and it's spinning, it's moving, vortexing, the sunlight's hitting it, the moon's hitting it. It's, you know, all of this is happening in nature. So it's like, well, wouldn't I think that if I want to have healthy water, I would want my water to be doing the same thing, moving. I want it to be mineralized. I want it to be filtered. I want it to maybe have some, some influence with the sun or the moon. These kind of things we can get curious about and play with. Because we need different water at different times. One of my mentors that I've been working with is Rumiana Sankova, who is at the University of Kobe, and she coined the term aquaphytomics, and she started studying water coherence and studying the frequencies that are in water. Water doesn't just have one frequency. It's like there's a frequency profile, many things happening in this water that I'm drinking. And is it a coherent profile that's very healing and nourishing for my body, or is it distorted and incoherent? And obviously we don't have a lab where we can, do this at home, all of us soon. That is coming. That is the objective that we would like to see, is that every single person can read their water body every day. And Rumiana does it through Spectra. But, hopefully we'll be able to do that at one point. Read the water we're drinking, read our body and see if it matches and it's coherent. And this is indeed the water we need. But that's more of the future. I think for now, what we do is we really look to nature. And so if you're at the grocery store, how do you implement that? You go, well, there's this bottle of water on the back says that it's filtered. Well, that's another word for tap water. And then this water on the back says that it came from the Shasta Mountains or something. I'm going to choose that one because this one's been closest to nature. This other one that was filtered, it probably came through our municipal water system, maybe went through God knows whatever filter, and now it's in this plastic bottle. And so I like to choose glass and something from a natural source. That's the best place to start for people that don't want to feel overwhelmed right away. Then there's so many other things that we can get into from there. Like a lot of people think at home, what do I do? Okay, well, at my house, I do have a filtration system, which addresses the chemistry of the water, which our water is contaminated. We know that. So we want to get out all the caustic, toxic things that are in the chemistry of the water. But now we look at the water and go, but there's imprinted frequencies in the water. This water has some sort of structure to it. It's been told something. It's been influenced somehow. And what's happening there? I don't know exactly unless I test it, but I can assume that, well, it came through these pipes that have right angles and are dirty and, probably have mold and mildew and whatever, God knows whatever else inside. And then they came from this municipal water system that was contaminated. So this water probably has a story. It's been influenced, and the imprint of the water is probably not that of living water. So I want to address the chemistry of the water, and I want to address the frequencies and the information that's in this water. And the best way that I know right now how to do that is through vortexing, because vortexing puts the water in this spin that we don't understand it quite yet. It's quite interesting, and there's more research to be done on it, but somehow nature knows that when you use sacred geometry and you spin the water, it's letting off the toxic, caustic information and drawing in healing, energizing frequencies. And I don't completely understand it, and I want to know more, but all I know is it's really good for you. Yeah. And we should do it. And if you don't have a vortexer, simply take a straw and start stirring your water. Get a spoon, stir your water. That movement, just like we move our water body, that movement is energizing the water.
That's great information.
Yeah, and it makes sense because there are still, thankfully, spots in nature where you can lean down over a stream, cup your hands, and drink water and not vomit. And in fact, you might be, and this is the way that I kind of look at this, where we've got to make sure that the water is not going to make you vomit upon consuming it immediately. So there's a level of filtration. There's a lot of chemical additions to this as well, which have their negative side effects, hormone imbalances, various toxicity in the body. But maybe those are done just to get you to the space where you are not going to immediately become ill after consuming the water.
Yeah.
And then there's this next phase of the structure of that water. And it's almost like if you're shopping for pants because you have no pants on and you're like, I have a towel and that's it. This is the only option, is to grab a towel. At least I'm covering my legs. That's kind of like our bare minimum. Let's get water to the point that it's consumable. We're thirsty. We need food.
Yes.
But it's certainly not ideal.
But it's not ideal.
Yeah.
And then you've got this structure capacity and this ability to change the dynamic of the water and the fit of the water to meet your insides and the needs of your life in this moment. So maybe this is where you're actually able to see pants and you're like, all right, there's a pair of jeans here, there's a zipper and it fits my waist. All right, this is structure, the equivalent of structured water. It's going to meet the needs of the inside of my body in this moment. Or you need shorts, or you need, something else, briefs.
Yeah.
The structure of the water, and this is the way that my bro-y brain thinks about this.
I love it.
is meeting the internal nuanced needs in a way that makes it the perfect fit.
Yes.
And it's allowing you not to just be hydrated, but to be optimally hydrated and functioning at your full capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. It's true. Because, we're looking for the structure. And, if it's hot outside, you might need shorts. If it's colder outside, you might need pants or sweats. And so the structure is going to look different based on your needs at that moment. And that is very true with the water that we're drinking. Unfortunately, we can't just go to the grocery store and see what frequencies are in the water or what the specific structure of the water is. Nobody's telling us that at this moment. But I do believe that the future of water, we will be able to see that on the back of I'm advocating for that. And that's something that I'm working towards with some scientists so that we can have a standardized system for water so people can really understand it better.
I'm so curious as to your thoughts around why this is such an esoteric idea. Why water and the infinite intelligence that water has the capacity for seems to not be regarded as legitimate science. Even in the way that I grew up, which was like middle-class America, nobody had hardly a filtration system in their house. And it wasn't until I'm in my damn near 30s to understand the how much we've missed as it pertains to water. And I'm talking about like athlete communities, health communities that are completely ignoring this space. Why do you think that it's been ignored?
I mean, I have different theories on it. I think a lot of things, there's a lot of research where their money is, where people believe that they're going to make money, and maybe people, haven't really seen the value and how of understanding water more. I mean, we understand every molecule out there pretty much. It's like, I understand, there's been research on the carbohydrate molecule, the protein molecule, like every molecule you can think of. And it's very unfortunate, that water hasn't had this research. But I believe that water has its time right now. I see so many scientists like really coming up with this. And it's not that water hasn't been researched before. I mean, you look back to ancient texts like the Bible, and it was spoken, the living water. And, the blind man who Jesus put the mud on his eyes and then told him to go, wash it off with the water. There's just so many things about the living water that we read. And it's exciting, actually. I think we've just kind of gotten away from it. I think our modern science, once we got the microscope and started looking and sort of breaking things apart, maybe we got a little too excited about thinking that we're God and we know everything, and instead of being more curious and really just still asking questions. When I look at water, I think to me it feels like trying to understand God. I'm never going to completely understand it, but the more I approach it with humility and asking questions and getting curious, that's where more answers start to come. And so I think that approach, and maybe people haven't, because water is it's like vast, and there's so many aspects to it. And it just seems so overwhelming because it is so magical and so divine.
It is. And I love the metaphors that you're using around God is like water. And if you think about water, we can't grab it. We can't hold it. We can cup it maybe at best, but the harder we squeeze, the more it slips through our fingers, and it's this beautiful mystery. And if you look at God and divinity in the way that I do, you start to get this idea that it can't necessarily be completely grasped, rationalized, and articulated. Rather, but it's real because you've been in the water, you've been in the ocean, you've been in a lake, you've felt the waves, you've been hydrated by it, you've been moved by it. So it's there. But every time you try to compartmentalize it, it loses its life. You put it in a kiddie pool, for instance, and it's sort of like lifeless in a lot of ways. And that's what we've done with the water that we consume. But there's a reality behind it when you actually start to work with it. And you learn to not get pummeled by the waves, but actually, surf them or swim through them, if you will. And you start to develop this relationship with water that is much more of a feeling experience than it would be to grab it and hold it and try to study it.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, it is. It's like when you go in the ocean, we need to have a reverence for the ocean. It's so ominous and vast, and we'll never completely understand it, but we know it's bigger than us. Right. And I need to have respect for this. No matter how great of a swimmer I am, no matter how much I understand it, I need to have respect for it. And that is the way I approach water. The more that I've researched it and studied it, the more humble it makes me. And I say this all the time now. It's really hard to actually talk about it because I feel like, who am I to talk about it? The more I learn about it, the more I realize how much I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, it's just, it's like me trying to explain God. I mean, I can look at the chemistry of it and the physics and the energetics. I can look at all these things, but I still don't really understand it. And what I do know, though, is we have this opportunity to really look at it with reverence, to appreciate it, to, have deep gratitude and to take care of it in every aspect, from the body of water that we are, to the bodies of water around us, to the water that's sitting here in our cups. These are things that we get to look at in awe and go, thank you, God, for this. I don't know what it is, but it's something good.
Yeah. I love that. I find that too. We've said it many times on this podcast. It's like the more that we learn, the more that we quote unquote know, the more that we realize how much we don't know.
Yeah.
And how vast this universe is, and even just this world is, that we get to explore with people like you and guests that come on and each other. It's like, man, I never want to be like, yep, got it all figured out. I know all the answers. Like, that's no way to live. I want to bring it back down to a little bit of the practical for people. You've mentioned a few times minerals and water being mineralized out in nature. It's going over these natural rocks and granites and all of these beautiful crystalline structures and picking up minerals and leaving behind what it doesn't need. When we talk about hydrating ourselves with water from our home, and you mentioned too that you had a mineral imbalance when you were pregnant. If somebody is like just first, sort of dipping their toes into the world of minerals, what are you teaching people, and where can they start with minerals?
Well, so when I think of minerals, I think of the periodic table, right? We have that for a reason. It's because this is what we evolved from, these elements that are on the periodic table, these elements, these gases. And when I think about my body, I know that my amniotic fluid, according to Rene Quinton in 1895, he discovered that our body's fluid, our plasma, is identical to the ocean's plasma. So it looks like we may have evolved from the ocean. Even when I look at the Bible, I'm seeing that before man was created, the oceans were created. Light, darkness, water, land. And then we were created. And our, blood plasma, he says, is identical to the ocean. So it had these 78 trace elements that are in this plasma and in this balance, this perfect balance. And so our bodies need those to thrive, to survive, for biogenesis, for healthy new cellular division and replication, and for our DNA. We talk about the word epigenetics being above our genes. Well, that's lifestyle's a part of that. And part of our lifestyle is the nutrition and the minerals that we're getting. And so when we're stressed and we're in a stressful environment, our body depletes a lot of minerals. And when we're eating food, we're trying to get these minerals back in to replenish our body. But in our conventional farming now, we don't have those minerals. Even in organic farming, a lot of the soil is missing a lot of these elements. And so when we talk about trace elements, it's like, well, yeah, that's a trace element because it's something our body doesn't need a lot of. And so we don't think about it, but it needs it to build new life, healthy new life. And so even though it's a small amount, it's something essential. And some of us are missing these building blocks for life. I talk about the story of my grandmother who has diabetes. 93 years old, she had a wound on her toe that would not heal, over a year, oozing. And the doctor said, we're going to have to amputate because it's not healing. I gave her some of the Rene Quinton's Quinton water, which is seawater. And within a week, maybe 10 days, it scabbed over. And we thought, wow, okay, maybe she was missing one of these elements.
Damn.
And was she taking it? She was taking it orally, or were you putting it directly on the
Orally.
wound? Okay.
She took it orally, and she was taking the isotonic, which isn't even like, it's a diluted version of the ocean. It's basically frequency medicine and telling your body that you have all 78 trace elements. And my family calls it the magic water now, because it was literally like a miracle what happened. And so I think about that, about how we could be just missing some small element. And I think that's what was happening with me when I was pregnant. I was missing some of these elements growing up, in this farming area where it was conventional farming and being depleted of nutrition. And so it's really important for people to get these minerals. And I think our minerals can get really out of balance if we start trying to play with it too much too. And it's like, oh, I think I need some extra zinc, or I need some extra this or that. We need to be really careful and test for that, because they can get really out of balance if you take too much of one element and not another, especially the trace elements. We just want a little bit. And so what I like to do is take Renee Quinton's Quinton vials, which they're in a double tip ampule. And the reason for that is because it holds all the bioenergetic information from the plankton vortex bloom in the ocean's floor. And so there's in that plankton bloom, there's so much energy and information in there. And when they harvest it, they want to make sure that it's kept intact. And so that double tip ampule keeps all of that inside. Also, the chemistry of the water, it's bringing in all 78 trace elements. It's in a glass ampule. It's cold processed so that it's not altered. And even in the Quinton labs, all of the piping is glass. I mean, they have a very specific way that they process this. And so when I take it, my body really resonates with it. And we've had it tested, and it is coherent water. I mean, it's very living and healing and
harmonized.
It's beautiful. It's like a symphony for your body, when you take it. And so I try to take that as opposed to taking every single element at home and trying to make sure it's in balance. Let's just do it the way nature did it here in the ocean. It's identical to what my blood plasma should look like. I say should because most of us, if we take our plasma, it's missing one of those elements.
Yeah.
So we want to replenish it. And I think Quinton Minerals are really great. And it's something that I really advocate for. We have them on my counter when people walk in.
Yeah.
People love to do a little Quinton shot, pop them.
We just
fun.
help ourselves. We're like, we know that these are out here to gift the world. And
exactly. When people come to my house, I want you to take one. And it does. It really, once you get mineralized, your nervous system calms, grounds, balances. It gets turned on and activated. It feels like my spine, every single part of it is activated, and I'm just grounded. And I feel less stressed. My kids, when they come back from school, the first thing they do is come pop a Quinton vial. And it's who wants to have a little bit of salt water? I mean, I don't know about you, but most people are thinking, I want to come home and have some salt water. But my kids just know how good it makes them feel, so they do it.
The body starts to crave it, though.
It does, yeah. My dog, he's 14, he'll have some really bad days, and we're like, oh, he needs a Quinton, We give it to him, and he literally starts dancing after. Aww. He's got 3 legs, and he's on that one little paw in the back, dancing. And it's just, we have so much fun watching how he reacts with it.
Yeah, I've never thought about that, about giving the Quinton ampules to pets.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. Everyone out there listening, check out Quinton Minerals. We just restocked. We're out right now, but I just restocked a couple days ago, and I'm excited to get those back.
Well, I think a few things have come up in the last 4 or 5 years, especially that I'm seeing in the wellness space. Immunity, obviously, number one during the pandemic. People are thinking about immunity for the first time more seriously than just taking vitamin C, right?
Yeah.
I've heard from listeners as well as just, my own connection to the wellness space, sexual health and vitality. It's of utmost importance to people, I think, because it is plummeting in a lot of cases.
Oh, yeah.
Sleep is another one. Always getting questions about sleep, always hearing the topic of sleep being talked about and the solutions. All of these have a baseline requirement of optimally hydrated in order to see improvement in each one of these lanes. Are you seeing a miss as far as the health and wellness community having conversations around dealing with these different topics as it pertains to just up-leveling the quality of the water?
I mean, I think it's something that everybody talks about. Oh, I need to drink water, or I need to hydrate. It's just, there's a lot being missed. Even there's a lot of powders now out there that are like hydration powders, mineral powders, right? And I get messages almost every day. People will send me a photo of one, like, is this a good one? Is this not good?
And I'm
like,
sure you get just bombarded.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there. It's just, I think there's a lot missing. There's a lot more to the story that we're not really getting curious about yet.
Yeah.
How do you tell people in their consumption of water to, for instance, I have a habit of chugging water. Like, I'll be like, I haven't drank in a couple hours. Let me just crush this entire 24 ounce in 5 seconds. I'm probably missing out on an opportunity to like engage in relationship with the water. How do you tell people to in their water practice to, take part in this sort of like relationship?
That's a really good question, because my relationship with water is, it's the same in a lot of sense, where it's like, oh shoot, I got to get it down. Or I think the same thing, I wake up in the morning and the first thing we want to do is drink water, right? Like we're so dehydrated when we wake up. So I try to get a good amount of salinity, like a saline kind of water, or some sort of trisalts, bicarbonates, to get the acid kind of more balanced in my body, because there's a lot of respiration happening. I'm very usually acidic when I wake up. Most of us are acidic when we wake up. And so I'll focus on that and getting a lot into my system, like 24 ounces at least to 32 ounces.
So it's okay to chug.
I think in the morning, I mean, chugging, there's a way to do it. Like, I love that you have that straw, Chase, and you have a way that you're very mindful with it. But chugging can put a lot of gas in our body too. So we want to think about that. It's not like a fun topic to talk about, but like, you ever like feel like you have a washing machine in your stomach, you drink water and you're like,
it's like sloshing around.
Yeah, there's like gas bubbles in there, and it's kind of not moving, and it's stuck, and it's not permeating. So there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, like dysbiosis in the gut and a lot of gases. So if you're just chugging, you can be putting a lot of extra air into your body that you don't want.
Booking a ticket to the farty party.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's just like trapped inside of it and you're bloated. And, people will say they drink water and they get bloated. And I'm like, oh, there's probably a lot of trapped gas inside of your body. So I try to be mindful about how I drink it. And my boyfriend's always like, oh, the way you drink water, it's always like this like sexy like waterfall thing. And I'm like, it's not, it's because I'm trying to like waterfall the water, so I'm not gulping it. I'm not like, I kind of waterfall it in. But to him, he's like, yeah, the way you do it, and I'm just like, it's not an intentional thing of like how this looks. It's just thinking about how the water's going in without gulping it.
Yeah.
So try not to gulp it. Sip it. I find waterfalling helps a lot. Like, it kind of helps me not gulp as much. Just being mindful, slowing
I like that
it down.
Waterfall it.
Yeah,
we're
gonna try that.
My water more.
Yeah,
I like that. Well, you've given us a lot on water and hydration. Are you down for some rapid fire questions?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right. Coming in hot here. What's an unpopular opinion you maintain?
Oh man, unpopular opinion. Probably many.
Let's be real.
There's a lot of unpopular opinions. I think one unpopular opinion would probably be just how I live my life. It's very unconventional. Like, I like to color outside the lines. If you're going to give me a recipe, I'm going to be like, yeah, I can't do that. I got to do it my way, if it's a 15-minute parking spot, I'm probably going to stay there for 30 minutes. I don't know. It's hard to follow exact directions. That's why I wrote the book the way I did. I said in the book, I'm like, do it your way. we're all so unique. We're all like a snowflake. So we need to do things our way. And sometimes that's unpopular because people want you to do it exactly their way. And if we're not doing it exactly the same way, then that can be very triggering for people. But I'm all about advocating our uniqueness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. You want to do the next one?
Yes. When was the last time you significantly changed your mind, and what did you change your mind about?
I think the biggest change I've had was growing up in a Christian home where my dad was a pastor and I'm in a missionary home. And, it's homeschooled, so it's very indoctrinated with a way of thinking and the way I thought about marriage and the way I thought about sexuality and the way I just saw the world and myself and God, my relationship with God, dramatically changed after the lessons that I learned in the 13-year marriage that I was in. God really just, I started to have more of a relationship than a religion. And that relationship, when you have a relationship with your divine creator, it's more about getting curious. It's not about the man-made do's and don'ts, the blacks and whites of what the priest is saying or the pastor's telling you, it's the right thing. Well, that's a human telling me that. What about my divine creator and my relationship with God? What does God have to say about this? So really looking at the Bible and asking, I just started asking more questions to God. Who are you? What do you want from me? Like, what does this look like? I'm in so much pain in this situation and I don't know how to get out of it or what to do. And, you Google something or ask someone's opinion and you're going to get a million different answers. It's hard to know what the right thing is sometimes. So really getting curious and getting in the stillness. And so I think my relationship with God just significantly changed. A lot of it stayed the same, but it changed. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, I've always had this love and reverence for God, but it's just very different than it used to be. And and it's different now with my parents because they still have a certain way that they do it. And I know they don't agree a lot with the things. And I really I just told my dad once, I said, when I die, my soul has to answer to my creator, not to you. And so as much as I want to please you and make you happy, I have higher purpose than one person. And I have respect for you and I respect what you have to say and I value it very much. Also, I'm a sovereign being that I have the responsibility to talk to God myself and hear and listen and obey. And if it goes against what someone else is telling me, I have to be okay with not being popular.
Yeah.
That's something that you and I really kind of bonded over early on in our friendship was the way that we were raised. We were also raised in the evangelical church, both, Chase and I. And his happened many years earlier before mine did, but this sort of like unraveling and unwinding of things that we were taught in the church and really just coming to this honest place where you can ask like, but is that my lived experience? Because for all the wonderful, beautiful things that we learned growing up in the church, I have so much gratitude for some of the values and the lessons that I was taught from a very young age and morals and ethics and everything like that. But I think that one thing that it does that is semi-dangerous, in my opinion, is that it sort of encourages you to deny your own personal experience and to look towards a set of rules and regulations and this book that has so much mythological beauty and story and goodness to be had. But there's no way that it can touch on every single aspect of my life, and certainly not my lived experience that I know to be true in my body and my relationship and my, communication with God. And so I love that for you so much. Like, I feel like we connected on this early on, and I've definitely seen like in you more of like an allowing and a surrendering to your own experience and sort of creating your life in this sort of surrendered, beautiful way. And I love that for you so much. And I feel like I'm in the same place now where it's like we can take what was beautiful and wonderful about our upbringing, but then there's a point where we transition from the child archetype to the adult, where we are a sovereign being and we're able to articulate a different experience. And just because it's different than our parents, my mom's experience, that's beautiful for her.
Yeah.
This is going to be a different experience for me. And I am fully stepping into it.
Yes.
And it feels really, really good.
Oh, yeah. Very freeing, very liberating when we take responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's no longer like, well, I got to please my mom and dad or please my husband, or we're not living our lives to please someone else. Because I realized when I was doing that, I was chasing my tail. First of all, no one's going to be happy with me all the time. So I'm always going to mess up and I'm going to be a failure. And if I focus on really tapping into the love that my creator is and really receiving that every day, being fully surrendered to it and really asking the questions, just being in the moment. What do you want from me right now? How can I show up in the highest way, the highest portrayal of love, and receive it too? Because I think in the Christian community, it's all about like giving. But if I'm taking time to really receive that love from God, I'm so filled up that I have an abundance of love to give to others. And it's really different when we take responsibility for ourselves and know this is my journey that I'm responsible for. And if it's not going well, I get to look at me.
Yeah.
Not what did my dad say and I followed the rules and it didn't work out, so now I'm angry with whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is my journey as a sovereign being. I'm responsible for me, and that's very freeing.
Yeah, Christianity says you will know a tree by its fruit. And I love that you're talking about how your evolution and relationship with God turned into inquiry and question asking. And I think that's so incredible. We often, especially in the religious community, Christian community, try to intellectualize the answers to the questions. And it's okay to intellectualize the question, but I think the answers need to be lived.
Yeah.
And you will know a tree by its fruit. You will know the answer when you're fruiting, when your life has fruit.
Yeah.
Not only you will know
Juicy
this,
fruit.
Yeah. You won't only realize this where you go, wow, I'm more healthy. I'm more happy.
Yeah.
Relationships are coming into my life that I'm not even asking for,
Right.
that are
Abundant.
positive and abundant.
Mm-hmm.
But people who love you will also see that fruit and they go, I don't care if they're not, crossing their T's and dotting their I's on the doctrine of this religion. I know that they have fruit that is abundant and it's life-giving and it's life-affirming. And so I always come back to that. And I love that's, similarly in the way that you articulated your journey is that start by asking the questions and then leave them attached to coming up with some rational answer in your brain because it has to be lived.
Yeah.
And then you will know a tree by its fruit.
And people can't deny what they're observing with their own eyes in your life. Not that that's the end goal,
Right.
to show everybody how wonderful and how healed I am and how freaking conscious and all of that. That's not the goal. It's simply a byproduct of living your truth.
Yeah.
And that's a term and a word that's sort of overused and misunderstood, your truth. But it doesn't make it less true that we have to, something has to make sense and be a lived experience for us to be able to consider it as true for us, I believe. So yeah, I absolutely love that. Next rapid fire question. These are rapid fire questions that are not so rapid, but I love it. What are 3 of your daily go-to supplements that you do not miss? We got to know.
Okay. Well,
Besides structured water.
They change really, I think, based on like the season and what my body's going through. So right now, the things that I'm taking are NMN every day. I'm doing vitamin C, which is a whole food vitamin C. We don't want to do like ascorbic acid or anything. We want to do a whole food vitamin C. So it's like a freeze-dried bunch of different fruits. And because that's great for collagen production and skin health and all those things. And I'm just all about it.
What's the brand on that?
I actually have been taking different ones. The one that I got is just from Steve. He actually prescribed it to me. So it's from their pharmacy.
I might have to talk to him about that one.
Yeah, definitely. And then I do a really special DHA fish oil every day. I think that's like these essential fatty acids, or I want my skin to glow. I want to feel vibrant. I want my joints to be juicy. And it's really important because a lot of the fats and oils that we take in, our body really has to work hard to emulsify through our gallbladder. A lot of us have gallbladder, liver, like not functioning at the optimum because of the way we've abused them in our lives, and not just abuse from the things we've eaten, but also our emotions really impacting that. So I like to take DHA because the molecular weight of it is lighter. It can bypass, it can get into the brain, helps with my brain function, helps reducing inflammation in the brain, helps with more clarity, succinct thoughts, helps with great skin, hair, nails. Those are my 3 top ones right now.
Love it. I hear mixed signals from different experts on fish oil. You know, you can hear one who they're both rooted in like holistic ways of living and everything and holistic health. You know, one person will say that most of the fish oil out there is already oxidized and you're shooting yourself in the foot by taking it. And then another person will absolutely swear by it. Maybe they're a doctor and they're like, oh, every single one of my patients, I get them on this really high quality fish oil. Is that because of the vast delta in the quality?
Oh yeah, the way they're processed. I would never go to Costco and buy those Costco fish. You know, it's like, oof, gosh. But also I really advocate for DHA because DHA is going to help with renal function. It helps with, I mean, so many things in the body that, and that can be, it's not made from fish. You know, it's something that's vegan.
Gotcha.
So it's coming from the ocean, but you don't, they'll mix fish oil sometimes with DHA. You'll have the EPAs and DHA, but I focus on my DHA, getting a lot of DHA into my diet.
Okay, so it's not actually fish oil that you're taking.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Cool.
I mean, the one that I currently have has both.
Okay.
It's called Rosita.
Oh yeah, I take Rosita.
It's a really good one.
I think it's cod liver oil.
Yeah, cod liver oil.
Yeah, I literally need to order more today.
Yeah, it's a cod liver oil and it has a DHA in it.
Yeah.
And then I do extra DHA from Dr. Bob Marshall. He's passed away. The late Dr. Bob Marshall's company, Premier Research Labs.
Okay.
But he was one of my big mentors and he just swore by DHA. Almost everything could be fixed with DHA.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay, last rapid fire. What is your favorite recipe in your book?
Well, so far the favorite one has been the Power Bites. Everybody loves those. They say it tastes like cookie dough. And
They've got some brain hit vibes.
they kind of do. Yeah, they definitely
Different
do.
shape, but definitely some similar elements.
Yeah, so it's got that drizzled chocolate on top and inside, you know, the ground pumpkin seeds and the sprouted almonds and the oats. So it gives a lot of energy. It's great for breakfast. Kids that are going off to school, very balanced for them, but it feels like a treat. It feels like they're having cookie dough. In the afternoon, you know, if you just need like a pick-me-up or if you want a dessert at nighttime, they're really yummy. I've been getting a lot of people posting and sending me messages how they're making them and making it their own. Someone sent me a message last night and he substituted the almonds for macadamia nuts and he substituted the oats for coconut flour.
Awesome.
And he said it was so good. Yeah.
Oh, that's
amazing.
great.
So
Yeah,
you can make it your own.
Yeah,
we definitely need to make those.
And when you add so much of the why to the book, you know, this isn't just a recipe book. It's got so much of a holistic understanding as to what you're doing. You're adding an experience with the recipe, of course, but you're also giving purpose to it with the why and all the science behind it, the energetics in the book. It's like really an experience of learning and understanding through just the book itself. And so I think it's going to resonate with a ton of people. And I think we're giving a book away
Yeah, we
to
are.
one listener.
We're doing a giveaway. So if you listen and share this episode, all you have to do is just take a screenshot of the episode on your phone, share it to your Instagram story. Make sure you tag me, Mimi_the Medicin, and we will enter you to win your very own Hydrate book. So that'll be very fun to give away for someone.
Yes. I'm excited.
Last question for you, Tracy. This has been just a blast. But the last question we ask every guest on the Medicin, we're all about exploring what these alternative forms of medicine can look like for us. So curious for you, what currently feels like medicine in your life?
Gosh, a lot of things, but I think breath work right now. Doing my breath work when I go into my ice plunge in the morning, the breath work has felt like drugs, like medicine.
Yeah.
Just like, whoa, I've been taken to alternate universes.
You blast off.
And it's amazing because you think about it and you're like, wow, I didn't have to take anything for that to happen. This has been inside of me the whole time. I just needed to take the time to access it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been exciting.
Yep.
Yeah, which is true for so many things. Like if we just take the time to be present in the experience and to breathe deeply and to feel what we're actually feeling, like that in and of itself can change someone's life. Just being present. And what I've noticed too, we talk about presence a lot on this show. It's like the more present we are, the more time does not exist. The more aware you are that it is absolutely an illusion.
Yeah.
Just this construct of time that we all live and die by, basically. Because I notice like when Chase and I are deep in conversation and we're totally lost and we're just completely present with each other, an hour slips by and it feels like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Or, we're deep lovemaking and it's beautiful and you're fully present and everything. And, a certain amount of time feels like, holy crap, that felt like 3 hours. It's just like time it's like malleable if we are present to what's actually happening to us.
Yeah.
And I digress here, but
No, it's a big point, and something I'll take away from this conversation today is and even on the note of breath, what is breath? It's connecting to air, and we're deepening this experience of air. And when we talk about hydrating, it's deepening this experience with water. And we're also aware that we need real light. We need sunlight. We talked about that today. We need to disconnect from the shallow version of light that we experience in the modern 2023 world and connect deeper with light and the sun itself. You could say the same thing with the earth, and I'm getting at all the elements at this point. It's taking our shoes off and connecting our bare feet to the earth, whether that's on the beach or the forest or in the sand and the dirt. And you start to realize that these critical elements of life, air, sun, fire, air, water, earth. If you start deeply connecting to these things, you'll come back to a place that feels like real. It'll feel more authentic to yourself.
Yep.
And that trickles into every other expression of your life.
That's such an amazing point. It's so true. Just we get to do it.
Yeah.
And let's make it fun while we're doing it though.
Totally.
Such a gift.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find more of you and where can they purchase your book?
So they can purchase my book at my website, and they can find me there at tracyduhs.com. That's TracyDuhs.com. And then also I am very active on social media. So on Instagram, my handle is Tracy Duhs.
Cool. And we'll have all of those links in the show notes, you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Just blessing us with your wisdom, yes, but also just your friendship. And I treasure you.
Thank you. Same.
All right, you guys, go check out Hydrate by Tracy Duhs. Check out her beautiful website and share this episode. You have a chance to win a book yourself. Share it to your story. Tag me, Mimi_the Medicin. We'll enter you into a drawing to win your very own Hydrate book. Share this episode and go spread some light. We'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for listening.
If you enjoyed that, check out right over here for some more fun clips.
Oh, and you're going to want to subscribe.
Bye.